So during the production of UFC 330, we got a card list for UFC 333 in Abu Dhabi. That means that we have UFC 331, hard carried by the main and co-main event, Joshua Van versus Alexander Pantoja, and Arman Sarukian versus Mauricio Hufi. Even though I don't know, if other people are as hyped for that fight as I am, but, I'll still throw it into the exciting fight category for that event. But we have just jumped from UFC 331 to UFC 333 with no announcement of what's happening in between. But it doesn't matter. We are here to talk about UFC 333 in Abu Dhabi, the Etihad Arena. We have a banger, main and co-main, and a pretty decent undercard. There's a couple of fights on here, but I'm just like, really, this is what we're doing? But let's just get into it. Let's start at the very top. Alexander Volkanovski returning. He last fought at the start of the year against Diego Lopez. He is back to defend the welterweight fucking Volk at 170. He's back to defend the featherweight championship against the currently undefeated 20-0 Movsar Evloev. And here's the thing, right? See if this fight took place when it should have done at the start of the year. We should never have gotten Volkanovski Lopez 2. It should have been Volk and Movsar or Volk and Murphy. But let's just say it should have been Volk and Movsar at the start of the year. The hype for that would have been so much bigger than I feel that it is right now. Because since Volk and Lopez, we've seen Movsar in the cage rob Lerone Murphy. And, I mean, you say robbery, right? It should have been a draw. Lerone Murphy took rounds 1 and 2. Movsar took 3, 4, and 5, but you'll remember, or you will not remember, he had a point deducted in round 4. It should have been a draw. It should have been a draw. But he didn't look too hot in that fight. I'm not going to lie. See, watching the Lerone Murphy and Movsar main event in London, I believe it was, earlier this year, it didn't fill you with hope that Movsar was going to lay a glove on Volkanovski, to be honest. It's not. He's 20-0. He's beaten a lot of guys. He's beaten Lerone Murphy. He's beaten Aljamain Sterling. He's beaten guys that you could say, okay, he is the rightful contender. But Volk's just on another level. And I don't see this being... I was going to say I don't really see this being competitive. I have no doubt in my mind that Volkanovski's going to take this 49-46. So, and I feel like I might be generous giving Movsar a round. I'm not even going to lie. But I could see maybe him being down 2 or 3 and then trying to rally back, maybe stealing a round somewhere in the middle. It's going to a decision, you already know. But the actual, I don't know if it's going to be the title. I haven't quite settled on a title yet, but you can see the thumbnail of the video right now in front of you. Yan versus Merab. Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili is the co-main event. And it should be the main event because I feel like there's going to be so much more hype for this fight than there is for Volk versus Evloev. And I know it's a rematch, it's a trilogy. Am I the only one who actually likes a rematch? I know other people are like, no, we need these first time matchups, and if we can avoid it at all, we don't want to see rematches. But looking at the rest of Bantamweight right now, Yan has to rematch Merab, he has to rematch O'Malley. The only real new fight in there is against Umar, and that fight still has to happen, and I am looking forward to it, of course. But this rematch had to happen given Merab's run with the belt. He defended it 3 times. He was chasing history. He was going for the 4th defence in the year and fell short. But given his reign, given his win streak prior to the loss to Petr Yan last December, then he does have to get the rematch. But I'm more interested in this rematch where we've seen both guys 50-45 each other, and then they have to sort of go back to the drawing board, come up with a new strategy, a new plan of attack to how they're going to deal with this opponent who has previously beat them. I like rematches, provided they have this sort of context to them where both guys have either beaten each other or one was a complete wash, and then you have to, change your If it's a complete wash, you wait a while, you then run it back, you see a different approach from the fighter who lost, a change in strategy to then try and win, which we've seen from Petr Yan, who was carrying in an injury in that first fight. I don't like to see rematches where it's Volk versus Lopez and there's not been enough time for Lopez to actually develop his game, enough time to pass for him to pose a much more significant threat to Volkanovski than he did the first time. That's a rematch that makes no sense. And that's like the worst case and the absolute worst context for a rematch. This here for Petr Yan and Merab, I love. And for me personally, just as a case for this being the main event over Volkan Lopez, look, I know that they don't do this. They always put the heavier weight class in the main event. It's just how it is. It's how they operate. And Volkan Movsar will be the main event. It's just the co-main will have so much more hype behind it. But for the co-main as well, I think Petr Yan will win. Early prediction, I'm picking Petr Yan to win because Merab just isn't fucking good. I'm so sick to death of like people say, oh man, Merab, like, people rank Merab high on GOAT status, and I'm like, this guy has got no discernible skill whatsoever except for cardio. Guy's an absolute cardio merchant, demon, not even good at not even good takedowns, no control time whatsoever. Somehow he subbed O'Malley, which speaks to O'Malley's grappling more than it does Merab's. But he will fail 50 fucking takedowns on you and still win the fight, doing no damage. Makes no sense. But I cannot really call confidently 100% who is going to win between Petr Yan and Merab. I genuinely can't. And also, Merab obviously beat Petr Yan the first time, so he has a blueprint, an outline of how to beat him. He tried to use it in the second fight, and Petr Yan stopped the takedowns. Also sick of this narrative that Merab just didn't wrestle the second time around. Even he on the mic after the fact tried to say, I tried to make fight entertaining for everybody. Meanwhile, he got all his takedowns stuffed. Like, Petr Yan was actually so good that he made it entertaining while Merab tried to suffocate it like he normally does. But I cannot tell who's going to win this fight. I can say definitively that Volkanovski will beat Movsar Evloev 100%, no doubt about it. And I do not want to watch a definitive 5-round decision where I know what's going to happen after Merab Dvalishvili could possibly have just beaten Petr Yan, and I am in a foul mood. I then do not want to have to watch Volkanovski and Evloev, and sure, Volkanovski will win and we will rejoice that Evloev won't get the belt. But I would much rather watch Volkanovski beat Evloev and it's going to be over 5 rounds. So I would much rather watch Volkanovski beat Evloev and then go in to a Petr Yan Merab fight, happy, in a good mood. Oh, okay, we just watched Volk beat Movsar. Now I get to go and watch Petr Yan destroy Merab and the babies are getting thrown in the air. I don't want to go into that Volkanovski fight having just watched Merab Dvalishvili fail takedowns over and over and over again and then have drained the clock out to the point where Petr Yan can't actually get anything going and Merab just wins a 5-round decision and then have to go and watch Movsar Evloev. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. So this has potential to be catastrophic formatting. There's this needs to main event. It has to main event. It won't, but it should. Let's move on to the feature fight now that we've basically predicted the main and the co-main already. Well, did we really predict the co-main? I'm taking Petr Yan, but I'll need to go back and watch the second fight. and probably the first as well. But, and by the way, right, see Merab, you know he's not gonna stand whatsoever. He's going to revert to type. And I say revert to type as though he actually left this, but you seen after Sandhagen when he landed like a 4-piece combo on Sandhagen and people thought, oh my god, world champion Merab actually has hands. The world champion actually added striking to his repertoire. Fucking embarrassing, right? But he basically landed like a 4-piece on Sandhagen and like rocked him, and people thought, oh my god, new evolution, Merab that can strike. And then the next Sandhagen fight, you see he's getting dropped by Mario Batista, and you're like, oh no, he's just actually that chinny. So he is going to revert to just fail and spam 50 takedowns over and over and over again, and it's going to be Petr Yan's job to stop that again. He made good use of his elbows working on the forearms of Merab to try and break that fucking death grip that he has on the body lock, and it worked very effectively. He was working the body of Merab very effectively as well, and that contributed to his 50-45 victory. But, well, I mean, hopefully he can do it again. But let's look at the rest of this card. In the feature fight, now I actually like this fight. I just don't like the positioning. We have Lorna Kavanagh versus Ramazan Temirov. Not mad at this fight whatsoever. I think it's going to be pretty good. You know, before the Brandon Royval fight, I didn't understand why people were picking Kavanagh over Royval, and I thought it was too big of a jump for Royval, or for Kavanagh to fight Royval. It proved to be so in the end, but he nearly chinned Royval in round 2, so he definitely did prove that he belongs in that sort of mix. Temirov is in and around that mix as well, but I think this is a really good matchup. I don't actually know who I'm going to pick yet. I hope Kavanagh wins. My respect for him went through the roof after the Royval fight, so I'm hoping that he can beat Temirov. Temirov obviously coming off the back of that Steve Erceg win. You know, decent. I don't know if it should be in the feature position. I feel as though they're really trying to push Kavanagh. And look, he is exciting, and that's the reason why I think fans won't mind this too much. But you get chinned by Charles Johnson. You then beat Brandon Moreno, who, you know, we all have our thoughts on Brandon Moreno modern day, and then lost to Brandon Royval, and you still somehow fall upwards into another feature fight. Because I'm pretty sure the Royval fight was a feature fight, was it not? Or was it second? I can't remember now. But look, it's irrelevant. He falls upwards into another feature fight on a pay-per-view. At least it's going to be exciting. The flyweights have been killing it. And if you take the context of who's actually fighting out of the equation, the fact that flyweight is getting a good position on this big pay-per-view card behind 2 title fights, then that's great for the division and terrific. I'll back it. That's cool. Next up, we have Volkov versus Rizvan Kunyev. And this is one of the fights I don't get because the talk from everybody around heavyweight right now after Alex Pereira moved up and got beat by Cyril Gane, which, by the way, has everybody seen those videos of Alex Pereira when he actually gets dropped by the jab? And when you watch the video and you look at Pereira's foot, he actually slips on Cyril Gane's feet. He like steps on Gane's foot and then Gane jabs him. And then the actual, like, that's what causes him to fall over. So he didn't just get nearly chinned off a jab like everybody thought. But we have Volkov here, and I mean, he should be in the Cyril Gane position. I'm not going to get into this. But we have Volkov, we have Pavlovich, we have Hokit, and we have Pereira as a sort of top 4 mix around heavyweight. People want to see that Hokit-Pereira matchup, but what's also been sort of, I don't know, floated, what's also been sort of pitched is you match up Volkov and Pereira or Pavlovich and Hokit. You sort of do a mix and match between these 4 to get a top mix and then a next contender for the winner between Gane and Aspinall. Nobody's really asking for Rizvan Kunyev in this mix. So I don't really understand that. And it just means like, okay, what's... Because I thought Hokit was going to be on this card. When's this card supposed to happen? The 24th of October. You know, Hokit fought... There was quick turnaround between the Hokit fight and the Derek Lewis fight, but let's not pretend as though he was in any danger for the Derek Lewis fight. I thought he might have been back. I don't know if this means we're going to get Hokit versus Pereira, which I think would be pretty cool. But I think we'll more than likely see Pavlovich Pereira or Pavlovich Hokit, and then it just leaves somebody out in the cold. So I don't know what we're exactly thinking here. I don't know if Pereira maybe needs more time to adjust to the size at heavyweight. I really don't know. But I would have looked to have made Volkov versus Hokit or Volkov versus Pereira, and then Pavlovich can get the other one, basically. But we have Volkov versus Kunyev. At least they're both ranked. See, after UFC 330, where it's like fucking prelim fights, and then you jump into 2 title fights at the end, like just whiplash going from even the first title fight, the women's co-main. You're jumping from like, the skill gap is just too vast. The formatting just all off. But at least these guys are 2 pretty highly ranked heavyweights. I fancy Volkov to win. I think he's just better than Kunyev. But in our opener on the main card, we have Arnold Allen versus Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico, how is he in this spot? I just don't... We have Arnold Allen here. Arnold Allen gets a good win over Milko Zalacosta, and the best thing we can do from after that is Aaron Pico. So you know what? At least he's going to get another win, which I'm all good with. I like Arnold Allen. He is pretty good. He only narrowly lost to fucking Gene Silva, although the clips of Gene Silva on his back like a surfboard didn't help whatsoever. But Aaron Pico is ranked number 13. I'm looking at the meta rankings, by the way, for this. But Aaron Pico's 13. Brendan Allen already beat Milko Zalacosta, who's ranked 11. You know, Aaron Pico beat fucking Pitbull. Unranked fucking Pitbull. Seriously, this is the shit. Like, so at least Arnold Allen's getting set up for a win. What's Aljamain Sterling doing these days? I don't know if Lerone Murphy's still injured. He hurt himself in that Evloev fight. And I'm not saying give Arnold Allen Lerone Murphy. But, you know, him and Aljamain Sterling are only a point away from each other in the rankings. Fucking Pat Sabatini's still ranked number 7 in the AI meta rankings. What the fuck? But, like, this fight isn't bad. It's just one of those ones where, really, this is the best that we could do for Arnold Allen's Aaron Pico. And I get the UFC likes Aaron Pico. I just don't know how that's going to translate to the wider audience. Because, like, when you come in and your debut and you're supposed to be this big prospect, you're this, like, anticipated debut, and then you get beat, and then you get spin and elbowed by Lerone Murphy, and then your win is over Pitbull, where it's like a last chance saloon for both guys, basically, because they both came in with hype and disappointed. You know, nice win for Arnold Allen, I suppose. I'm just not that excited for it. Dominic Reyes is looking like he's going to be main event in the prelims, and he's still doing this, by the way. Dominic Reyes, still just plugging away. He's still doing it. And he's up against Azamat Murzakanov. Good luck. I mean, I fancy Murzakanov to get that one done. Abbas Magomedov versus Cam Rouston. I like this, and I like Cam Rouston. I think Cam Rouston's going to win. Nikita Krylov just coming off the loss to the fat Bobby Knuckles. Of course, I still can't get over commentary on that Robert Whittaker fight. It was just a joke. But Joe Rogan diagnosed Nikita Krylov with a broken jaw. And naturally, he's making the turnaround just 3 months later, recovering from the broken jaw. So he must be on that stem cell treatment, just crazy. So he's back already. He's taking on Abdul Rahman Yakyaev, who I believe on his last fight got like a record knockout. Like it was so fast. Let me see. Let me get the exact time. It was against Julius Walker, and it was 8 seconds into the fight. So he's going to have some hype coming into this one. And then the last fight, we only have 9 announced fights for this one, but we have Grant Dawson, and he's taking on Nurullo Aliev, the undefeated 12-0 Nurullo Aliev. And yeah, look, it's fine. It's fights. These are all fights that are guys in the rankings, which I appreciate, or it's guys looking to get into the rankings in the case of Aliev, or in the case of Cam Rouston. Now, I don't really want to see Aliev in the rankings because he's just a decision merchant, but I understand that that's just how UFC plays the game for certain people, so that's all good. This is the card so far for UFC 330. Dawson versus Aliev, Krylov versus Yakyaev, Magomedov versus Rouston, Reyes versus Mirzakhanov, Allen versus Pico, Volkov versus Kunyev, Kavanagh versus Temirov, Yan versus Merab, and Volk versus Evloev. It's pretty decent. You can tell that it's tailored to the Abu Dhabi audience, but it's not bad. It's not bad. A few adjustments maybe in the case of, Volkov fighting Kunyev. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'd like to have seen Pereira in there, or Hoka even. And Allen versus Pico is fine. I think I'd have preferred to have seen Arnold Allen fight someone that would maybe put him in any sort of danger whatsoever. It's just, and I like Arnold Allen, and I'm happy that he's going to win here, but you know how it goes. Besides that, the rest of this is fine. Prelims are fine, but main card, Kavanagh versus Temirov. Kavanagh versus Temirov's good. I just don't know if it's feature fight. I don't know if it's just that. See if you moved all these fights down one, and Allen versus Pico was like main event prelims, and then you had that heavyweight fight to kick it off. You had the flyweights then after that, and then you had some sort of, blockbuster feature fight here. But I know that we're coming up towards the end of the year, and we still have 332 to get announced as well. So hopefully there's some big fights on there. But that is the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. UFC 30, the first Zuffa UFC event. That review will be up on the channel coming very, very soon, and we will be covering any other news that drops. As it drops, there will be a video on the channel covering it all. So thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.